Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I'm a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Come take this journey with me. Excuses are over. It's time to live.
So a false perception is if I'm thinking of a limiting belief about myself and I think that I am not good enough or I'm not smart enough, that becomes my truth. Even just doing this for 30 days, you'll look back and think, whoa, so far, these are the opportunities that have come in my life just because I've been focusing on the thoughts that empower me versus disempower me. It's incredible. This is for realsies. Like, it is 2019. We are in this. So it's one of those things, you either hop on the boat and you get with the manifestation train, or it's like you're missing out on very natural, pure energy that's here to bring us to what we desire.
Okay, before we jump into this interview, I want to invite you to be considered for my 2019 traveling mastermind. So go to workhardplayhardmastermind.com and fill out the application, and we'll jump on a call to see if you're a great fit. This year, we'll be in Boston doing lots of cool things like training with Tom Brady's trainer, Alex Guerrero. In the middle of the year, we'll be heading to Monaco doing things like vintage car rides through the French Riviera. And then we're going to wrap the year in Florence, Italy, doing things like truffle hunting and hot air ballooning over Florence. Look, life is all about fulfillment, and I really try and walk the walk. So if you are looking to be part of our tribe of 28 high-achieving entrepreneurs that are in the 6- and 7-figure range, fill out your application at workhardplayhardmastermind.com to be considered. So think of the mastermind as having two parts. The first is the trip itself, and the second part is what goes on over the 4 days within the mastermind. Our group of 28 entrepreneurs will help you brainstorm and accelerate what you want to achieve in 2019. And we'll do that through a variety of different exercises, brainstorming activities, breakout sessions, goal-setting sessions. You know the drill. So go to workhardplayhardmastermind.com, fill out an application, and we'll jump on a call to see if you're a fit. All right, let's jump into today's episode. What's up, everybody? This is Rob Murgatroyd, and welcome to another episode of the Work Hard, Play Hard show. This episode features Taylor Simpson. You can find her on Instagram and elsewhere at I Am Taylor Simpson. That's a great Instagram handle. I want to have Taylor on the show because she is like, for me, she's like a young Joe Dispenza, She has the ability to take the woo-woo and make it scientific, which I like. I like woo-woo, and I like science, and I like somebody who can put them together. And she can do it. I love how she does it. So who is Taylor Simpson? She is a leading expert in the field of confidence building, self-love, transformational work, and an online business building strategist. She's the founder of the Confidence Academy and the online business building tribe. So be sure to take a screenshot of this episode, share it on the socials, and remember to tag me and I Am Taylor Simpson. Let us know what you thought of the show. Without further ado, please enjoy this conversation I had with Taylor. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. I'm really excited for this.
You know what? I am super pumped to have you here today. So I really, really appreciate you making the time.
Yes. Thank you for having me on. I'm jazzed.
Well, I think what we'll do is we'll break it up into three parts. We'll first talk about the science of achievement and how you are helping people manifest what they want in their lives. And then we'll talk a little bit about the art of fulfillment and maybe some things that you do to help you feel more fulfilled. And then we'll wrap with some rapid fire questions. Cool?
Love it. Bring it.
All right. So let's start at the beginning. Can you tell me where you grew up and how you would describe your childhood?
Oh my gosh, I love this question because that's like my favorite. So I grew up in Colorado, in the mountains, middle of nowhere. Closest neighbor was probably 20 miles away. So I grew up on like 100 acres. And we had a basketball court outside. Everything was outside in trampolines. And it was just amazing. I was about as mountain girl as you could possibly get. No cable TV, any of that. And so it really was just me in nature and getting dirty and playing with my siblings and not having any of, thank God, the distractions that kids have nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was just a lot of fun, a lot of play.
What did your parents do for a living?
Yeah, so my dad was a VP of a computer software company, and my mom was actually one of the first female boss ladies at DuPont. So
Boss lady, I like that. That's a hashtag now, isn't it?
Right. Before the hashtag, before hashtag boss lady existed. This is back in the 90s. And so, so she was just a go-getter and also like you wouldn't even know it because she was such a good job that they both did a good job about being present, even though they had these like really high level jobs we would never have known as kids, which is amazing.
Now, where do you get the energy from? You have crazy, bouncy, high-end energy. You're like a ball of freaking fire. Is it mom or dad?
It's both for sure. Like my mom, but probably my mom more because she did it all. Like she was just that woman who was the president of the PTA. She was at all of our soccer games. She, cooked us dinner and then also did her job. Like she, to this day, right now, she actually was just down. She's retired now. She was in Peru for 2 months, volunteer teaching at a school and like doing that. And then in the evening she'd be hiking and she's in her 60s. So 100% my mother.
Well, listen, be careful 60s. I'm going to be 60 in 7 years. So I'm like right behind your mother. So I don't know if I'm going to be hiking Peru anytime soon, but that's pretty cool. So I want to fast forward a little bit to your education.
Yeah.
You got your master's degree in international development and international studies, and you wound up on Capitol Hill in DC, and you thought you had this like dream job, but then you realized, you know what? I don't love it. It's not for me. Was the stress just too much, or what happened there?
Yeah. So Capitol Hill. So actually, the reason I even got those degrees and worked on Capitol Hill was not really for me. It was one of those stories where I did all the things in order to make it look good on the outside because at that time I was dealing with severe social anxiety, people pleasing to the wazoo, and it was all stemmed from being bullied as a child for my too much personality and my too much energy. So it's funny you say that, and it really just too much of being me. So I chose that career because on the East Coast here in Washington D.C. where I went to college in this area, it was like the job to get. Like if you worked on Capitol Hill, you were amazing. You were the shit. Like it was awesome. And so that's why I chose it. And I kind of did the steps, got the job. And yeah, just immediately once reality hit of, oh crap, this is the life that I have spent years educating myself to be in. And I was miserable because it was not a fit for my personality. Once I was starting to learn who I was, doing a lot of self-work and self-development, I realized I am not someone who wants to work from 8 a.m. until midnight some nights. I am not someone who has to be, I don't know if you can curse on, can I curse in here? Okay, good. I should have asked that the first time.
I already have the explicit rating, so fuck away.
Okay, thank God. So yeah, a lot of ass kissing on Capitol Hill. Like it is all about ass kissing and who you know, who you can please the most. And it was just not fun. Like that it's cut out for a certain type of breed. And I was not that breed. I was finding myself coming home from work, like just drinking a bottle of wine, eating all the ice cream and just not feeling fulfilled or being seen for my skills and my uniqueness. So it was like a very short term. It was about a year on Capitol Hill. And then I decided to go into my next sector was for the United Nations. And yeah, it was just 100%. I am not an ass kisser and I was a bit of a smart ass and I'm a little curt sometimes just because I'm honest. And so you don't do that to senators and delegators. No.
I bet.
So I wouldn't have gotten very far in that life.
But you're still there, right? You're still in DC?
Yep, I still live in DC because my husband works for the State Department. So we're here for his job, but he'll be segueing out of that soon and back to Colorado.
By the way, I feel like that's a CIA agent when he worked for the State Department. Does he do anything cool?
Well, he was spec ops in the Ranger. So he served overseas for about 8 years as a spec ops. So he now is like obviously retired from that. So he doesn't really do any of the cool stuff he used to do. It's more just contract work and desk work.
Interesting. I have zero connection to the military, and today I'm interviewing a Green Beret after we do our call. Somebody that was at our mastermind.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so crazy. Okay. So you talk a lot about discovering false perceptions of ourselves. Can you sort of just walk through? Assume that the listener has no idea what any of these terms are. So like when we talk about a false perception, what do you mean by that?
So a false perception to me is if I'm thinking of a limiting belief about myself and I think that I am not good enough or I'm not smart enough, that becomes my truth. That becomes who I am. Like if someone tells me, hey, you're not smart enough to work on Capitol Hill, or you're not smart enough to own your own business. And if I believe it, that becomes my truth.
Interesting. At what time in your life did you have that issue?
Yes. Oh my, forever. So forever until like 5 years ago, no joke. And I'm in my 30s now. So when I moved from Colorado to the East Coast here, and I was really into fashion and having a statement pant on or statement shoes and really into just sharing my personality through clothes. And I went to the first day of school in 7th grade. Everyone loves middle school, right? So I roll in there with my neon pink pants, my polka dot shirt, glitter all over my face, and just excited to be that new girl who everyone's going to be like, who is she? I want to be her friend. And come to find out, I am met with not very welcoming eyes. And that quickly turned into being made fun of for my outfits, which I kind of alluded to earlier. Mm-hmm. Being made fun of for that, which I then morphed my outfits to fit in with them. So my new false perception is, okay, this is not how you're supposed to dress. You have to dress like this. And I did that. And then my personality was too much. I talk too much. I talk too fast. You're just too much. So I eventually then morphed my personality to fit in with them. So from 7th grade until the age of 25, my false perception of myself is you are too much. Your light is too bright. You annoy people with your too muchness, and which led to those insecurities, those I am not enough. And that led me to not speaking up. That led me to having severe panic attacks. The idea of being called on and speaking in front of a group, like even in my classroom in high school or college, I would avoid it at all costs. Like I would barter with professors to not have to give presentations. It was that bad. So my false perception of you are not enough was so ingrained that it kept me playing small until 5-6 years ago.
It's really, really interesting. You're making me think about something. Have you ever done any Tony Robbins work?
Yes, we're going to UPW this year, and I went to a couple of his events here in DC this past year.
Have you done UPW before?
Nope, no. We got tickets, so we have to decide which one we're going to go to.
Well, UPW is going to be great, but you just said something that triggered what I learned there, and it was he asked a question. You'll go through this when you go through UPW. He asked a question: which parents' love did you crave the most? Which parents' love did you crave? Not want, but crave. And then the second part of the question is, once you identify that, the second part is, who did you have to be for them to get their love?
Yes. Oh my God. It's a beautiful question.
And I'll tell you, what's really interesting about this is what you just said, playing small. You triggered something for me at a time in my life where I played small. And my dad, when I went through this process, I craved my dad's love more than I craved my mom's. And I was like, well, who did I have to be? My dad was a blue collar worker. So anybody that made, let's call it $100,000 a year or more was those people. They were the suits. They were conceited. They had their nose in the air. So I forced myself to play small because I wanted his love. And so those two questions are really, really interesting around this subject. So I think you're really going to enjoy UPW. Interesting stuff, right?
Yeah, I did a weekend kind of deep dive seminar, and we did those questions, and I know exactly which one.
Oh, so you know what I'm saying. So tell me about for you.
Yeah.
Which was it for you?
It's really funny that you actually bring this up, and it's like, of course, universal. So I went to the weekend thinking, I'm like, okay, what is my block? Why am I playing small? Why for that exact reason? And so I thought I had maybe like daddy issues because that's a whole other story. My dad he then retired from the VP and became a pastor. And then super long story short, ends up being a full-blown narcissist, living multiple lives behind our backs and sleeping
Your dad was.
Oh yeah, sleeping with parishioners at the church during marriage counseling. So so I was like, oh, I must have daddy problems. Like I must but even though I did all the healing and all that yucky work when you kind of go through that as a teenager. So I was like, yeah, but I was like, but I forgive him. Like truly, he's got mental issues. And so I'm like, okay, I don't know what my problem is because I'm not trying to please him. What in the world? And so I'm up front talking about it. And the leader was like, you've got mom problems. I was like, no way. My mom's my best friend. What are you talking about? And he's like, no, he's like, he came up and on this whiteboard, he goes, you have held your mom on this high pedestal and you have tried to mirror her, even though you love her. And all of this, you've tried to be like her. You've tried to, and I hold my mom to really high expectations, which led us to getting into kind of some fights as adults, like pushing each other's buttons. And so he's like, you've held her this high expectation, which means that when she doesn't meet your expectations, you get mad at her because you think she's so perfect. It's like, oh my God. And then it led to, she's never once said that she's proud of me, not one time. And so I was doing all of these things, building, when I quit my working for the UN, I built my first online business, hit 6 figures, super successful, still nothing. No, I'm proud of you. Nothing. And so it's like, oh my God, I've got mommy problems. She's the one I've been
Who do I have to be? Do I have to be the president? Like what do you want?
Yes. And so I'm like crying in front of everyone. I like mind blown. Those are those moments where you're just like breakthrough. So I end up, she knows this story. So I end up telling, like after the event, he's like, you have to tell her like that you've got mommy problems. I was like, oh great, this is fun. And so I tell her and I was like, this is just hysterical. It's like, Mom, you've never said I'm proud of you. Yeah, I have. No, not once. Still to this day, I've never gotten I'm proud of you. And even during that conversation, she couldn't muster up to say it. So she was raised by, my grandparents are German. My granddad was in World War II. They grew up in the Great Depression. I'm very close with my grandparents, like obsessed. They never told her, I'm proud of you. So she just doesn't have that capability in her. She goes above and beyond to take care of me, would do anything for me, is at all my events, all of that. So isn't that funny? So I've had to come to terms with, it's okay. Like she just doesn't have it in her because she just doesn't know any better.
Yeah, I mean this shit is weird because it's obvious that we can make it, about us because how could you not? Because it seems like, what the fuck? Like how much more do you want me to do?
I know.
But at the same time, we're a product of how we were raised by our parents, right? So like, I travel around the world a lot and there's quite a difference. My mother's family's from Italy, Naples, Italy. So like you wake up and somebody's tongue kissing you in the house. You know what I mean? Like it's like everybody, they just like, it's crazy. They're so tactile and kissy and huggy that, but when I travel and I go to places like Germany, there's a whole different vibe there, and Russia, et cetera. There's a standoffishness and, that manifests through generations. And it's really, obviously has nothing to do with you. It's just sort of culturally how she was born. But you're right. So circling back, we make these false perceptions of ourselves through a whole multitude of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to move on to your marriage. I'm going to talk about your first marriage.
Yes.
Can we go
Oh,
there?
please. I'm
All
an
right.
open book.
All right. So you got married. You were young, really. Like you're young. You're young now, and you're on your second marriage. So you got married pretty
Yep.
young, and you realized that that was the wrong situation for you. And looking back on it, what lessons did you learn that you were, let's say, not bringing into your current marriage?
Oh my God. So that is a Pandora's box. So many. So number one comes to mind, just kind of what pops out first is communication and being true to my voice and how I feel. So in that marriage, I got into it because I was at such that was at my lowest point of insecurities. And I was like, oh, he'll take care of me. This is someone that'll take care of me, the white picket fence syndrome, all of that. And I wasn't listening to my inner guide, to my higher being, whatever you want to call it. I was ignoring it because, I'm not good enough. I am not smart enough to get anyone different. So I'll just, this is good enough right now. And then which led to lack of communication. So we did not communicate any of our feelings, good or bad. For the very start, we were like teenagers pretty much, but we weren't even teenagers. We were acting like it. So that was a huge lesson for me, is to feel safe sharing my voice, and if I'm not feeling safe to share my voice, to say I'm not feeling safe. And so my current husband is Mr. Expert communicator, to the T. If there's something wrong, he'll say it immediately, no matter what. If I hurt his feelings, he'll tell me. So that was just, a huge lesson, was I needed to work on voicing my thoughts. And it stems from just childhood and all of the bullying. I never stood up for myself, and I never shared how I felt. And that really that was the biggest piece of we didn't know each other. We never gave each other the chance to talk about what our needs were or any of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, relationships can be really, really tricky that way. Communication is such a big deal. Sometimes, I have friends who go on for years, and, you ever go out to dinner with these people and they just start, all of a sudden they're you can sense the vibe that their relationship isn't good, and they're taking digs at each other, through dinner. And you're like, fuck, would you guys just talk to each other, please? You're killing me. It's usually when I order my third glass of wine because I'm trying to numb out.
So passive aggressive. That was us. We would dig at each other. We were literally, Rob, that couple. He'd make fun of me, backhanded comments. I'd make fun of him. I mean, it was so disgustingly ugly. I look back, I'm I look back and I don't even recognize the person I was or who he was.
Do you think that somewhere along the line, even, I had some shitty daddy issues as well, and I had a really shitty first marriage. So, but at the same time, hindsight's 20/20, right? At the same time, I look back and I'm like, if that shit didn't happen to me, then I could never be able to work out where I am today. So do you kind of feel like some of that shit was just your path and you just needed lessons?
Oh my gosh, yes. I do not regret that whatsoever. It let me learn so much about myself. It's incredible. I didn't know what my love language was, and now I know, and it's affirmations. And he never gave me any affirmation. So for him to trigger me like that and be that mirror for something that I really needed to survive, to breathe, was huge. So I learned what I needed, and what I needed to hear in order to just feel good about myself. I learned that I wasn't a good communicator. I learned that I had a lot of self-doubts. And again, he was the mirror for all these. He was my teacher of being able to say, whoa, you are better than how you're treating yourself right now. You are capable of so much more. And because he didn't believe in that in me, I didn't see that. So because of the shit we went through, it allowed me to see so many blocks that I had, that if we hadn't gone through that and I just got married to someone who didn't teach me that, and then maybe they would end up talking down to me because I never gained that confidence, it would have been a whole different story. So I've the lessons I've learned about the capabilities I am of being the amazing person that I am are all due to going through that.
Can you explain for people that don't know what love languages are, and when you say affirmations, what that means?
Yeah. So I need someone to tell me I am pretty. I need them to say you are amazing. You are capable of doing all the things you could possibly dream of. Like my now husband is very, 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 very good at filling that love language. And so yeah, it's just like you are this, you are that. Even though it's some people can think, oh, affirmations, ugh, that's like super narcissistic. And no, it's just everyone has their, it's either touch, they need to be touched, they need to have quality time. It's just the way we're wired to be able to feel connected. Like I don't need to hear it from other people. I just needed to hear it from my partner. So affirmations, your love language is for your partner mainly. Obviously, it's nice to hear from other people, but it's your way of feeling like they are paying attention to you and that they love you.
I must have been living under a rock because I never knew about the love languages stuff. And I was with our mutual friend Lori Harder in Greece, and for me, I love doing things for people. I love like going to the restaurant, making sure we got the exact right table at the exact right sunset spot with the exact right champagne glass. Like I'm just obsessed about that, and so I'd been doing that, which is ultimately how they convinced me that doing a mastermind would be a good idea. And she said, your love language, Rob, is acts of service. And I was like, what is that? And she explained it to me, and I was like, oh, that really is important to me. Like that's really important. I need to do things for people. So for you, it's words of affirmation. So if we were married, I need to come home at the end of the night and say, man, you look beautiful today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, perfect. So let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about the magic of manifesting. You explained to me when we first met that you're a little bit more on the science side when it comes to this stuff. So maybe let's use a general example. Somebody says, I want to make $1 million. Can you walk me through how you teach them to manifest what it is in their life?
Yes. Manifestation is, and I always like to lead with this. When people hear manifestation, and you're like, oh God, this is not about to be a conversation about manifestation. Just know that we are coming to a place it's just in science and in what we're learning about the vortex and the energy field that's around us. This is for realsies. Like it is 2019, we are in this. So it's one of those things you either hop on the boat and you get with the manifestation train, or it's like you're missing out on very natural, pure energy that's here to bring us to what we desire. So I like to preface that because some people are put off by manifestation and the law of attraction because they think of the movie The Secret. And The Secret was a great way to open up people's eyes, but it really missed a lot of the key points on what you really need to do versus just think and make it happen, which is not the case.
Yeah, no, right. Because it gets woo-woo, yeah.
It does. It does. So like if anyone is thinking that, just turn that that assumption off. And so when it comes to allowing your brain to bring you what you need, the first step is to just surrender to the beliefs. So kind of like what I just went through, surrender to what you think, surrender to what you know, and open your thought and your mind and your body and everything to something greater than yourself. That there's an energy field around you to literally bring you to that future you that has everything you want, aka manifestation. How stories in our mind works and how it works with the neurons in our brain. So let's talk about money. Let's kind of start like foundational money. So when we have a negative thought around money, such as when you pay your rent or your mortgage and you're like, oh my God, I pay what? This is so stupid. And you do that every single time you pay your mortgage. Guess what? It's the same price, the same cost, but we automatically, habitually have the same reaction. And it's because our subconscious mind is it's a computer hard drive. So it holds on to every single thought, word, scenario that you said that happened, that your parents said, did when you were, born until now. So here's a little task that you can do just to start. And this will tap into how to truly manifest, but this is like the foundational piece. So get an understanding what your money stories are and what neurons you need to work on unwiring, because you can unwire those negative neurons and fire them to new, more empowering thoughts. Just rewriting your mind is what that is. So on a piece of paper, this is a really easy task to do. On a piece of paper, you're going to put a line down the center. And on the left side, you're going to put unserving money thoughts, because we're talking about money here, to get to what you want to manifest. So you're going to write down every thought or word or sentence your parents, society ever told you about money. If it was, you have to save, save, save. You have to work 40 hours a week in order to make a lot of money. And then on the right side, you're going to write my new serving money thoughts. And you're going to flip every single one of those negative thoughts. So if it is you have to work 40 hours a week to make a lot of money, or you have to be a CEO to make a lot of money, whatever that is, you're going to write what you want. And you have to release, I want to preface this, you have to release the ego out of it. Because when you do this new story, your ego is going to get in there and it's going to say, but when, but how, but why? You've never had that happen. And your subconscious mind is going to look at them also and think, well, these aren't true because they didn't happen in the past. So you're not going to believe them, but just push through to get them out, brain dump them out. So you're going to flip them with, I work 3 hours a week and make $5 million every single week. So whatever your dream is, put it down there. And then in front of those sentences, you're going to write, because the affirmations you see on Pinterest, on Instagram, just the I am a millionaire, like that's not like, those are shit. Like those don't do anything. Those just like, you're just word vomiting everywhere. So you want, which I can't stand. So you want to write, I am in the process of working 3 hours a week and making $1 million doing so. Because when you say, I am in the process of, your body, so your subconscious mind it gives attention to what you're feeling. So as you say, I am in the process of doing this, you're actually starting to rewire new positive neurons, because it's going to believe that, because you're actually embodying that. So you have to be obsessed with this thought flipping and obsessed with visualizing what you're doing when you are making those thought flips. So as you do this, your subconscious mind is going to work. Now it's looking for, now that you've got this foundation of thought flipping, it is now, it's also like a puppy dog. It wants to please you. It wants to bring things into your life that you are desiring, that you're thinking of, like, I make millions of dollars working 3 hours a week. So it goes searching for situations and scenarios that match that feeling, all those new stories that you keep telling yourself over and over and over again. And before you know it, that's when you're at the coffee shop and you overhear someone talking about, oh, I need help with this, the other. And you're like, oh my God, that's telling my expertise. Even just doing this for 30 days, you'll look back and think, whoa, so far, these are the opportunities that have come in my life just because I've been focusing on the thoughts that empower me versus disempower me. It's incredible.
I love that. What you're basically doing is you're activating I think the area of the brain is called the reticular activating system, and which is what allows you to, see what you're implanting in the head. I love that. So how do you think that people accidentally or unconsciously block it from flowing in?
How are they unconsciously blocked?
Yeah, no. So in other words, they have this, they're working on manifesting something. They're activating their reticular activating system. They're seeing it everywhere. But sometimes they still block this flow from coming in, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And how can people avoid that?
Yes. And a simple answer is they don't truly believe they're capable of doing it. So even if there's 1% in your body that's like, maybe your ego is down there like screaming, no. If you've got 1% in you that does not believe that you are capable of working 3 hours a week and making $1 million, you will not manifest it. Period.
Because your brain says bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like it really is that simple. And so people listening now, if you are working on something, do you believe it with all of your soul? Like, does every cell in your body think, oh yeah, that's totally me? Or is that 1% of you thinking, you're funny, that's not possible? And if that is, you've got to really work on, you've got to dive deeper into, okay, what story was I told when I was 5 years old that I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah. It's really then peeling back the onion layers of what that 1% is that's not believing.
Yep, I love that. You talk a lot about rituals and having habits in your life, and I know that you go to bed early. You're a 9 o'clock bedtimer. You'd even go to bed at 7:30 if they'd let you, right?
Oh my God, my dream.
Yeah. Can you give me maybe some of the highlights of your 2 hour morning routine? What's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So wake up, drink my warm lemon water, put some Himalayan salt in there, and start my day off just kind of flushing out the toxins and cleansing my liver. And then I sit down and I meditate for about 30, 45 minutes. I just kind of, whenever I feel like I'm done, I'm done. And usually it gets between those times. I then do some yoga movements, some cat cows, just really stretching out my spine, doing some twists to get that body moving after a long night's sleep. And then I go into journaling. So I write down 10 things I'm grateful for and really embody them, and then set intentions for the day and allow myself to get aligned with the affirmations on who I am stepping into at every single moment. So really, when I go through that process of intention and affirmation setting, I visualize that how I want to show up that day. If it's, I intend to, be love, I really see myself going around with like my sun shining, and really make sure that future me feels me coming to her, which sounds so cheesy, but you've got to, I embody that vision of who I want to be for that day. So I go through that visualization process, and then I read a chapter out of A Course in Miracles, and then Daily Stoicism. I pull some angel cards, allow myself to be guided by whoever, whatever is there guiding me, and pull those. And then I do about 5 minutes of sun salutations over and over and over again, and sit down and read for usually about like 30, 40 minutes. I could sit and read for hours, but I have to set a timer with reading, or else I will sit and read for an hour. But it's usually about like 40 minutes. And that's my morning routine and kind of a snippet.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So
Yeah.
Marianne Williamson, can you believe that she's running for president now?
I freaking love it.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And the Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday is just fantastic. I mean, it's amazing at how that shit from 2,000 years ago is still relevant today. It's freaky.
Oh.
So let's move on to the art of fulfillment portion of the show and talk about some of the things that you do to improve things that are outside of the kind of work that you do. So are there any positions or opinions in the last few years, or it could be way back, it doesn't have to be in the last few years, that you've changed substantially on, where you've shifted your position or you've completely changed your mindset about, where you were like, you thought of it this way, but now you're like, no, I don't feel that way anymore?
Good question. I like that. So that's actually something I'm kind of been going through the past probably 6 months. And that is, you have to be doing something at all times to move forward in your business. And if you are just sitting there doing nothing, you are behind. You are making less money. And so my new realization, my new story, my new way of living is adding more play in, adding literal on my calendar. I have like an hour blocked off 2 times a day of just doing what I want, of sitting in silence if I need to, of coloring in a mandala coloring book, or going outside and playing with my dogs. So that is definitely something that I'm fully embracing, and it's actually brought me more success. It's funny when we think one thing and then tap into.
Yeah, it's interesting. I interviewed Preston Smiles, one of the speakers at our last mastermind, the one that I'm in with you. He did something interesting around that exact area. He was having the same challenge, and he decided to do something fun every day. So, he told me a story. He said, my wife would call me and she'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm skateboarding. And she'd be like, you're fucking skateboarding? Like, do you have any idea how much shit I have to do? I got the baby. He's like, I'm putting play into my life every day. It's only 10 minutes. I'm going to have to call you back. And he said he jumped up $1 million that year because he put one play thing, whether, he's in Southern California. So it was like, it was surfing or, skateboarding or whatever, but he did one play thing every day. And you're right. There's something about us as entrepreneurs where we just want to keep working until we drop dead because, we usually love it. So, but it doesn't allow us to be well-rounded. So I love that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't open us to like clarity or those downloads that we need. When we're in that hustle mode all the time in our masculine, we actually block like the magic that comes with being like in your feminine flow. Like that's when you have those brilliant ideas that make you millions of dollars.
I gotta tell you something too. It's not even the feminine flow. It's just the flow.
For sure.
Like,
For sure.
you know what I
Yep.
mean? Like we, even as men, we could be so focused on, I'm going to crush this. I'm going to kill it. And, there's like, we're pissing all over the goal that we want, And then we wake up and go, whoa, like, where do your best ideas come from? They come when you're in the shower because you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I love that. If you were a critic doing a review of your life so far, what would you say?
Oh, if I was a critic doing a review, oh my. Probably you need to play bigger. You need to shine brighter. That's 100% what they would say.
Love it. If you could spend a month anywhere in the world, where would it be and why'd you choose it?
Oh, easy answer. Africa. Probably Ghana. And why? I actually have Africa tattooed on my wrist. I am obsessed with Africa. I do a lot of volunteer work there, and we will be adopting from Ghana. So I would be in Ghana.
It's really interesting. Why the African connection for you?
I think, as I believe in past lives, I think in one of my past lives, I was African and it was my favorite life. I've gone there multiple times. The first time I went there, as a little girl, I visioned myself in Africa, like surrounded by little African children teaching. And I did that a few years ago. I actually made that a reality. And the first time I landed there, I literally cried. Like I get goosebumps thinking about it. I bawled my eyes out when I stepped foot on African soil. I never felt more home in my entire life.
That's so
it's
crazy.
Unbelievable. I have this incredible pool there where not a day goes by. Like that's why I'm going to start a nonprofit there. I'm going to be doing a lot of work in Africa because we're going to be buying a house there. It's just, nothing has ever, and I've been all over the world. I've been pretty much on a majority of countries, and it's by far my favorite. Well, continent, because it's not a country.
So interesting. We did South Africa last year.
Cape Town.
Cape Town, yep. Yeah. It was really, really cool. Weird question, but if you can only go to one restaurant before you die, where would your last meal be?
Ooh, one restaurant. I love Mexican food. So some probably janky ass hole in the wall Mexican restaurant.
Yeah. By the way, that's always the thing that comes up. It's always like, it's because I ask this to everybody and they're always like, wow, it's weird. It's like this like crappy little hole in the wall. I'm like, that's the one everybody chooses.
It's the best.
What's the thing that's rocking your world now that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the kind of work that you do?
What's rocking my world? Gosh, probably just playing with my husband, like walking our dogs, going hiking, just literally living life with him.
I love how you're playing with the husband and walking the dog. Right? That's awesome. You're not playing with the dog and walking your husband. I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you've always wanted to learn, but you just haven't gotten around to yet?
I've always wanted to learn probably how to play the harp. So that's something I've played a lot of instruments.
Wow, you're like an angel.
Right? Yeah, I've played violin, flute, guitar, piano, and I've always loved the harp. So I was.
But where are you going to put this thing?
I know
you can't take it on the plane.
It's so fucking big. I know. I am so screwed. So one day one day.
Hey, honey, we're moving the couch out. Why? I got a harp.
He'd be like, whatever.
That's so crazy. When you find yourself uninspired, what sorts of things do you do to find your way back?
Beautiful question. Dancing. I love to just put on, whether it be like raunchy ass hip hop or classical music, it's just dancing and moving my body and allowing myself like to get out of, make it not about me. Because usually when I'm not feeling inspired, I'm making it about me. And when I dance and move my body, I allow that energy to shift and to move. And all of a sudden I feel 10 times better.
I love that. Did you say opera a second ago? Or classical?
Classical.
You say opera or classical?
All of the above.
You know what's really funny? You know what I just got into? I just got into listening to Pavarotti. And if you want to have like a religious experience, go on Spotify, put your headphones in, and listen to Pavarotti sing Nessun Dorma. It's an Italian song. It's the number. If when you go onto Pavarotti on Spotify, it'll be his most popular.
Okay.
It'll bring tears to your eye. And the only reason why is because I just did my mastermind in Boston, and I hired somebody to do a comparative wine tasting in the North End of Boston. And I also brought in somebody from the Metropolitan Opera House to sing opera while we were doing the comparative wine tasting. And she started singing, and it's this like 90-pound woman. And there was probably 20 of us there. And it didn't even feel like the music was coming out of her mouth. She filled the room. It was like coming from somewhere else. But what struck me was within 30 seconds, 70% of the room was just uncontrollably crying. And I talked to her after it, and she said it happens a lot. There's something where we tap into with classical music and opera music. If you're willing to give it a shot, you tap into a place that you just don't tap into regularly. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll try. And it worked. I went right to Pavarotti, and it was freaking amazing. So I just wanted to pass that on to you. I think
oh my gosh. Thank you. I've got goosebumps just listening to that because it's so real. It's so real.
I'll text you the one. It's amazing. You know, we all spend way too much time in front of our computers. What strategies do you have in place to get more human connection?
Yes. So for me, it's one, scheduling in either that playtime, that white space, or I'll just also just to get around other humans because when we work at home, it's us at our office. I'll go to a coffee shop and I won't take my computer. I'll take just like a book and I'll go and read and maybe strike up a conversation there or go to the gym or go to a yoga class. But it's intentionally putting that time in my calendar to do something with strangers usually because I love striking up conversations with strangers throughout the week for sure.
I love that. Most people are afraid of doing that. What advice would you give the introvert? Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
God, I am a major... Wait, what do you think? What do you think I am? I almost gave it away.
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you the definition because I've interviewed somebody who wrote the book on this shit, and I'll tell you what the definition is.
Okay,
so you tell me, just to make sure you get it, just make sure that we define what it is. She said to me, people often confuse this, and I said, okay, well, how do you know if you're an introvert or an extrovert? She said, okay, it's simple. I'll give you an example. If you had a long day and you were stressed out and you went into, let's say, a bar, would you want to have a conversation with the person next to you, or would you prefer to put headphones in and go more into your own head? So in other words, which one gives you energy? How would you answer that?
Headphones, do not talk to me.
And that's more introverted.
Oh yeah, I am. People think I'm an extrovert because I'm super outgoing. Major.
You see,
introvert.
when you said, "What do you think I am?" I would have thought that you would have thought that I would have said that you're an extrovert. But it's weird because people who would see you, like if I just saw you somewhere, I'd say, "Oh, look at this, blonde bouncing ball of energy. She just wants to talk to everybody, and she wants to go to the coffee shop, and she wants to talk to everybody." But that is not. You're situationally extroverted.
Yeah.
You're extroverted on this podcast. You make an intention to be extroverted in the coffee shop. But your default is introverted, right?
Oh, yeah. My husband is a full-blown extrovert. He is that person at the bar who's talking to everybody. And I'm just like, drinking my glass of wine, enjoying my alone time.
See, I am glad that we clarified this because people would have confused it. So it's really, what is it that gives you energy? If it gives you energy, for me, like when I do, you and I are both in the same mastermind. At the end of those 3 days, I'm drooling in the corner, just like staring like, I'm in a mental institution because I've situationally given myself to everybody.
Yep.
Because, when you're in that environment, people, they don't see each other for 3 months, have a million questions they want to ask you. And, so I go into that extrovertedness over those 3 days, but I pay the price. At the end of those 3 days, I'm fucked up. I need to just die. and not talk to anybody, which is fun when you have a 4-year-old, but that's another conversation.
Totally dead. Like after that mastermind, on Sunday morning at 3 a.m., I had a flight out to Peru, and I spent 2.5 weeks in Peru immediately after doing nothing.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fly to Peru after our next one. And I'll sit in the back of the plane, so I won't even talk to you.
I was like, that was totally me. Totally me.
It's so funny. All right, we're going to wrap up with the rapid fire round of the show. Answer as quickly or as slowly as you would like. It's basically a first thing that comes to mind round.
All right, bring it.
What would your friends say is one of your superpowers?
Be in the light.
What's one of the things you're afraid of right now?
Oh, be in the light.
What keeps you up at night?
Not shining bright enough.
What do people never ask you, but you wish they did?
What are my fears?
What's the one thing you want to get better at?
Oh, there we go. Hang on. Not people pleasing so much.
What book, other than A Course in Miracles and the Stoic one that we mentioned, what book have you reread the most?
The Power of Now, over and over.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, junk food. I have the diet of a 12-year-old boy.
That's really funny. I'm going to send you some Doritos. What's one thing that you own and probably should throw out, but you're not going to do it?
Ooh, I've got this nasty ass T-shirt that I sleep in that's like torn up and holes in it for like 20 years old.
If you had to give a TED Talk on nothing that you're known for, nothing that you speak about, and it could really be on anything that you like or anything that you have a passion for at all, what would it be?
Oh, that I don't talk about. God, that's a good one. Jeez, Rob. Traveling. Traveling as a solo woman.
Love that. You know, that question, by the way, is a question I got from reading Steve Jobs' book. And he asked people that question because we have these masks, right? You know, this is what I do this for a living. So we tend to build our lives around it. But when you frame it and say, well, if we didn't do that and we didn't talk about what you're known for, what would you love to talk about? And the answers that come up, I got to tell you, are crazy. Like I'll interview an engineer and he wants to talk about surfing. I interviewed a secretary and she wants to talk about sex. I mean, it's crazy what's inside of us that we don't talk about. So cool.
Yeah, travel for sure.
I love that. We have that in common. Ask me anything you want. Let's change it up a little bit. What one question would you like to ask me?
Ooh, what is your guilty pleasure?
Netflix.
Oh, there you go. Touche. What on your gravestone, what you want it to say?
He fucking lived.
Ooh. What is something that you wish you had done differently?
Spent more time with my 20-year-old daughter and realized that time passes really fucking quickly. Like 20 years is a blink of an eye and you cannot get it back. And I wish that I spent less time focusing on work and just a little bit more. Not that I didn't, I did. And she would say, Dad, that is not true. But I feel it. And I wish I'd spent just a little bit more time with her.
Love that. Who do you need to forgive?
Great question. The answer to that question was my dad. And I did. And he passed last year. And I'm so glad that I did.
Oh, goosebumps. That's amazing. Thank you. If you could bring anyone back from the dead and hang out with them for a day, who would it be and why?
It would be Leonardo da Vinci because he had such an ability to do so many different things. Like, for example, he invented, this is crazy. They found in his notebook, which Bill Gates bought for $32 million. They found in this notebook the schematic for a parachute, and it said under it, in the event that a flying machine is built, we'll need to know how to get out of it. And we still use those dimensions today.
Wow. Goosebumps.
Fucking crazy shit, right?
Fucking super crazy.
All right, I'll take one more. What do you got?
Here we go. One with a fun one. What would your superpower be?
My ability to find anything amazing in anybody I talk to. My wife says to me all the time, like, I'll be in the cab and I'll talk to the driver and I will have a conversation about, the Ubangi tribe that he was raised in. And she'd be like, how do you do that? Like, I cannot, like, you can find a ground with anybody about anything. So I would say,
you and my husband are like the same human being. You guys would get along really well.
Well, I'd love to meet him. So you're going back to Colorado, is that right?
Yeah, our goal is to be back there in the next couple of years. So, like, we're going to build a custom micro home, on acres and acres of land, and build a farm and be like totally self-sustaining. So yeah, we'll be back there in a couple of years.
Well, you have some amazing things that are going to be coming up in your life. There's no doubt about it. You are a shining light. You are driven. You're passionate. You're willing to do the work. And I'm just really, really proud of you. And you're beautiful. See how I learned?
You just filled up my affirmation cup for the day. I am like he is a good listener. that was amazing.
Do you have any final words, suggestions, or an ask for people that are listening?
Oh gosh, just an ask to go and do the thing. Like, do the fucking thing that you've been avoiding doing. Period. You know what I'm talking about. Do the fucking thing.
Do the fucking thing. We're going to end on that. Taylor, you're fucking awesome.
Thank you so much, Rob, for having me on.
All right. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds, and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.